Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Have It Broadway. Have It Broadway is a new live series that we've created that is a Q&A, getting to know some of the Broadway performers that are going to be gracing our stages here at the Wilson Center this season. Very exciting to have a very exciting guest today. Our next step on the stage is going to be Anastasia, which I'm so excited about, which we'll get into later. And as we wait for our guest of honor, I do want to touch base on everything that's going to be coming to the Wilson Center in our Broadway series for 22-23. On Your Feet is going to be the next show on the stage after Anastasia, of course. And that's going to be November 30th through December 1st. They're playing two shows. On Your Feet is a story of Gloria Stefan. Great music. I think it's a card catalog. I've actually never seen On Your Feet before, so I'm very, very excited for this one to come through. I hear it's just fun for the whole family. And this season, we have a ton of diversity and so many different shows. We have something for everyone. I mean, it's probably one of the best theater seasons I've seen at a theater everywhere. Hi! And here we are. Speaking of the devil, here's going to be everyone at home. This is very exciting. This is Veronica Stern, and she actually is she's playing Anya in Anastasia. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. I was just kind of telling everybody at home going through our season, and your promptness is excellent. Thank you. We wanted to just chat and get to know you a little bit. How has the road been treating you so far?
It's been good. I'm enjoying traveling around the country. It's very fun. It's very exciting to see all the different sides of America that I never thought I would see. So it's been very, very, really exciting.
That's awesome. And so I was looking at your bio. This is your first national tour?
Yes, this is.
You are going in with a bang. You booked the lead and you're taking it by storm. That's awesome. What city are you coming to us from right now?
I am in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis is fun. That's a good one. I work for the Wilson Center. I'm the hospitality coordinator, but I did 4 Broadway national tours. So I'm a big tour alumni, and it's so much fun. You're getting to see kind of the country on somebody else's dime while doing something you absolutely love. So that's super, super exciting. And you get to be the leading lady. What a fantastic role. I was just letting everybody know, Anastasia is actually an adaptation, a live adaptation from the 1997 animated feature film that had mega star voices such as Meg Ryan, John Cusack, and the late great Miss Angela Lansbury, and then was adapted for the stage by playwright Terrence McNally and debuted in 2018, in which then Christy Altomore, who played Anna, won the Tony Award for Best Actress. The show is probably, I think, one of the most beautiful shows I've ever seen. It's just so stunning. Do you guys travel with all the projections?
Yes.
I've turned into kind of like a projection nut. I am so fascinated because I'm so old, that theater, everything was painted on a backdrop. And I love that the modern technology has really been able to do all these amazing things with projections. And, I'm not going to give it away for everyone who's coming to see the show. But the end of Act 1 is you can't breathe. It's so stunning and so beautiful. Oh my gosh. So tell us a little bit about you. How did you get started in performing?
So I'm from New York. I grew up there. That's where I'm from, born and raised. So the whole concept of national tours is very new to me. I went to school for college at the University of Cincinnati, the College Conservatory of Music, which most people know as CCM. And that was really the first time that I ever experienced a national tour. So, I was just used to going into the city and seeing Broadway shows, and I knew about national tours, but I just didn't know what that was all about.
You're a true New Yorker. You're you're living in New York. You're very rare, I feel.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started seeing Broadway shows. And then when I got to college, I knew that I wanted to kind of study it more and kind of get into it. So I went to school for it, and now here we are.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. So yeah, I mean, you had the best theater in the world at your doorstep. Like, what a treat. So yeah, you're kind of doing everything a little bit backwards from a lot of other actors, that they come to New York and then they go on the road. So you're like being on the road. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that I lived in New York for 20 years. I miss my corner bodega so much, and my guy at Dunkin' Donuts. Really, we don't have a lot of Dunkin' Donuts down here. I feel like the South needs to get a little bit more on the Dunkin' Donut train, but that's
Yeah.
exciting. So how's your itinerary treating you? Like being on the road, you're getting to experience some cool cities. Are there certain cities you're looking forward to?
Well, we're going to Cincinnati in January, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then we, yeah, we've just been going to a lot of cities that I never in a million years thought I would be in. Um, so last week we were in North Carolina and Charlotte, and it was very warm, and now we're in Indianapolis and it's freezing. So dealing with that is a really cool thing too. And um, yeah, it's been very exciting.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the show. I mean, was this a dream role for you? Did you get to see Christy do this on Broadway?
So actually I never saw Anastasia on Broadway. I was kind of at school when it was on Broadway, so it just never really worked out. But before I went to school and I was like researching CCM and stuff, I saw a video of Christy performing Journey to the Past at CCM, and I was like, what is this school? Who is this person?
Hmm.
And that's how I knew about Anastasia. I was familiar with it from that, and I was like, oh, I need to go to this school. And actually, the one of the composers of Anastasia, Stephen Flaherty, also went to CCM. So I was like, oh, hey.
Nice.
um, and that's kind of how I like my gateway into that school. And then when the Anastasia audition came around, I was like, oh my goodness, like that's where Christy went to school and Stephen Flaherty. So that was kind of just my introduction to Anastasia. But no, I never
This
saw it on
this
Broadway.
seems very meant to be.
Yeah, in a way, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely it's your journey, but out to the past, into your future, because you must be absolutely incredible. What a amazing role. What do you enjoy about portraying this character?
Um, I think what I love about Anya is that she's very strong and brave and bold and courageous. And but she also has her demure side and the ingenue, and it's just very fun, and I feel like rare almost to be able to portray a princess that has all of those characteristics and is very independent. So I feel very lucky that I get to do that, and it's a lot of fun every night.
What's your favorite part of the show to perform?
Ooh, well, it changes every single night. Recently, I've really been enjoying the recognition scene, which is the scene where Anya um, comes face to face with the dowager, who is her grandmother, and she's trying to get her to recognize her and acknowledge that she could be Anastasia. Um, but yeah, it changes every night depending on the mood.
No, that's awesome. So we had a question earlier, which I think is actually fantastic because this is such a vocally demanding show. We had somebody ask, what are some tips that you have for maintaining vocal health, especially living on the road? For you're in a different climate, like you said, you're dealing with different, even like elevation. Living in hotels. What are some of the tips that you have that keep you vocally healthy on the road?
I think I'm still learning, for sure, but I steam before shows. I think having good technique is really important. So, you can rely on your technique to be consistent. And then you kind of just are like, you know what, if my technique is there, my voice will be there, which I don't know. I'm not like a voice teacher or anything, so it doesn't quite make sense when I say it, but when my voice teacher says it, she's like, "Oh, you have good technique, so you can rely on that." So
You're like, sure.
Yeah, thing is really important, not pushing yourself, knowing your limits. Lots of lozenges and keeping your voice really moisturized is very important as well, and drinking a lot of water, and how you eat. There's just so many different things, and like getting sleep is like the most important thing. Anytime I'm like feeling a little like iffy, I'm like, how long did I sleep last night? Oh yeah, that's the problem. So you know
Yeah, no, and it's all really, you're dealing with allergy season, and I'm sure you guys have quite a stock of throat coat and Ricolas that travel around with you. So when you are, how long have you guys been on the road? You're fairly early on into your tour schedule, right?
So this is the second year. So the show actually just celebrated its 1 year anniversary yesterday. I've been with the show since August, so about 3 months, 2 months now. Yeah, but it's been on the road for a year.
Yeah, so with your shows, like, what do you do to kind of keep it fresh? I mean, is there, going in, I mean, granted, you're playing a different audience in a different cities so often. What's a little trick that you do to keep your show, new? Because for the audience watching the show, it's the first time they're seeing you, but you've already done it, like, quite often. What's some tips?
Well, I think that that's a good point of like there's a different audience, and that's a really cool thing about national tours and touring in general is every week, or whatever the schedule is for that time, is a different environment, which I think helps to keep the show very new. Like, even though everything is the same every night, there's different things backstage that you're dealing with, and a different path to get to your dressing room that can change your whole mood or something like that. So that's a really easy way to keep things fresh for the show. And then I think just having fun is just really important too. Like, if you're just having fun on
Mhm.
stage, then something new will happen every night, and that's kind of the beauty of like live theater.
That's awesome. So I saw another question, which I love that this friend who commented and asked this, um, because I think the costumes for this show are absolutely exquisite. Fun fact about Erin, I lived up in Durham, North Carolina for a while, and DPAC, the Durham Performing Arts Center, is there, and I started working backstage, and I worked wigs. It was my first show I worked wigs on, was when it went and played DPAC. And shout out to Katie, who was the wig head at the time, because I never worked wigs before and I was terrified. And they put me on the mustache track. And
Yeah.
I spent the whole show, and it was great. I had the best time ever, and all of the guys were so delightful. But I spent all the whole time peeling, like, their toupee tape off of all of their mustaches and their goatees and for like 3 hours for 8 shows. I had basically no fingertips by the end of my time there. But I was so enamored with the costume design for that show. It's a costume beast because what I think the family goes back and forth. There's a lot of flashbacks, right? Yeah, and they that's why they wore those mustaches so much. But the question from one of our viewers, I heard the red dress is super heavy. Is it a rumor?
The red dress is very heavy. I believe it's like 35 pounds or something like that. Um, so it's quite a beast, but weirdly, it's comfortable. I think there's something kind of comfortable about like it being a little bit weighed down. It makes you walk differently. So, and you don't wear it for too long. So you kind of have this really fast, quick change, and then you go out there and wear this really heavy dress, and then you fall in the dress and you get back up and you run around in it. So definitely make it worth your while in the dress. But the first time you put it on, it's definitely like, whoa, this is a really heavy thing. How am I going to maneuver it? And then you learn, and it's fine.
Have you ever, like, by accident, because the circumference of it is so large, like, dragged something on stage with you by accident, like a scenic shrug or something?
No, I've never dragged anything on stage. At the very end of the show, Dimitri and I like lock hands and we go over the baby Anastasia, and I'm always so scared I'm gonna knock her over with my dress because she's so tiny and the dress is so big. So I'm always like, we're gonna make it over, and then I haven't yet. At least I don't think I have. So yeah.
That's awesome. That was a great question. Wow, 35 pounds. I mean, it probably helps when you do that. fall to the ground. So you're already halfway there with the weight of the costume. How
Yeah, and
many
there's a
people
lot of
take to put you in that?
just two people. Yeah, but
Wow.
they're very they 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 know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. That's awesome. So with that, what have any funny onstage bloopers happened to you or to during the show that are just like it's so, you're fighting to get through it because it's just so funny.
Oh, yeah, there's too many to name, I think. And there's like a lot of like little things like lines that are hard for me to say sometimes, and other people know that they're hard for me to say, and we just like look at each other like, oh God, will I get through this? And we always do. But yeah, it's stuff, small things like that.
I know that's the fun. I always think the fun thing about touring too is because you're in a different place. A lot of times, a lot of the patrons come to see the show, and a lot of times your show has to change based on the venue. So sometimes you have, what's called a full show, and that you have everything that the show is entitled to have. And then there's some venues you get into, which might be much smaller, that you have like cut shows, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, oh, there's not that backdrop, and I have to enter in a different way from this one. And like, yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure you've played an array of, because this is a pretty large show. You guys have some big set pieces, right?
Yeah, I've only experienced, I think we've had one show so far where there was something super different, but our our crew is really really good about keeping it very consistent for us. So I'm very appreciative in that sense that nothing too major has changed.
That's awesome. So with the story of Anastasia, give us a quick synopsis of what the show's about for those who are not, don't really know much about her.
Yeah, Anastasia is the story of a young woman named Anya, whose family is all killed by the Russians in 1920 the 1910s, and she's the sole survivor, and so is her grandmother because her grandmother left for Paris before all of that happened. And Anya has amnesia, so that's why she can't remember who she is, and she's trying to get to Paris to figure out like who this person is that she keeps remembering. And she runs into these two con men named Dmitri and Vlad, who are also trying to figure out who the Princess Anastasia is because that's kind of their ticket to getting out of Russia as well. And they all three of them band together and go on a fun journey to creating the princess and kind of turning Anya into Anastasia. And they make it to Paris, and there's more craziness that ensues. And then eventually she meets the Dowager Empress, who is her grandmother, who is also trying to find Anastasia. And it ends kind of with Anya finding out who she is, whether or not that's Anastasia or not. You'll have to just come to see the show to find out.
Yeah, cliffhanger, nicely done. I'm sure you've done a ton of character research, especially with portraying someone who's based on a real person. How much of like the show itself do you feel mirrors what is the historic facts? Has there been a lot
Um,
of liberties, you think? Or, you know what I mean? Like, Terrence McNally is a genius book writer, but I'm not by any means an Anastasia expert. But just, yeah, how close to the historical facts does the script follow?
well, when they sent us our scripts, it also came with like this much like dramaturgical history about the
That's awesome.
Romanov and Russia in the 1920s and kind of what St. Petersburg was going through. So although this is, it's a fictionalized story of this woman, it is based in reality. And I think that the authors and creators of this story really made sure that it's rooted in the truth. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. I mean, because I think when you get to do as an actor, you get to do all of that research for the role. I think I would go down the rabbit hole with just the amount of historical, it's fascinating stuff. It's really cool. All right, we're going to touch on a couple more questions we've had from some of our viewers. Hi guys, thanks for saying hi and joining us. All right, this is great. This has to go back to your education, which arts education is so important. And obviously going to school to, learn how to hone your craft, to get you ready for the professional world. And this, I guess, being one of your first big professional gigs, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When did you graduate school? Did you just graduate?
I graduated in 2021, so last year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's bravo. All right, so first question, how old were you when you took your first acting class?
Oh, like my first real acting class. Oh, you know what? I guess I was in my like early teens because I went to a sleepaway camp called Frenchwoods. I don't know, some people might be familiar with it if you're from the New York or Florida area. It's just a performing arts sleepaway camp, and I did some acting classes there, but I also did a theater program called Young at Arts, which is in Westchester, New York, and I did a lot of stuff there as well. So I kind of have been doing this since I was like 8 or 9, not professionally though, until I was obviously much older.
So another question, what steps did you take in college to get to where you are? That's a great question. So, yeah.
I think that the biggest step was deciding to go to CCM. I kind of knew that like what I wanted to do, I felt like that would be the best place for me to hone in my craft and kind of create those bonds with people that are in the business and like learn more about how to be in this industry. What was the question? Sorry.
No, I mean, it was, you pretty much answered it. You like just with school and you had already had a little bit insight, I'm sure, into New York auditioning in the process. Cause like, you have to get into those auditions and get the headshots done and have the resume prepared and all that stuff. Oh, we got one more question. Do you work with William Butler?
Oh,
Willem Butler, yeah.
That's our Dimitri.
Oh, that's awesome. So yes, answer is yes. I actually am friends with your musical director, Jeremy.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I worked with Jeremy. He worked with me on a project that I was producing and creating, and he is an amazing pianist. He is like top notch. What a great guy. I really look forward to seeing him. I really look forward to seeing you. And real quickly, one more question. What was the most important thing about auditioning? Like with auditioning, when you got to talk us through like how you booked this, what was your process in booking this role?
Yeah, so I have an agent, and my agent sent me this audition, and I was actually in Florida doing another show at a theater in Florida called the Buddy Holly Story, and my agent sent me a self-tape, because everything now kind of starts with a tape. So I recorded the self-tape, I sent it back in, I got a call back to come to New York, booked a flight, went to New York, did that in person, and then they asked me if I could come back, and I was like, I'm already back in Florida, can I do it on at a Zoom? And then they were like, okay, tell us when you're back in New York. And then I got back to New York and had a final call back, and then 2 weeks later I heard back, and now I'm here.
I mean, that's actually for an audition process. That was actually pretty expedited.
Yeah, I think so. I think
yeah. Not too. I was chatting we had Hairspray last year, and that poor Hairspray cast, they started auditions pre-pandemic, and we're basically a year and a half later getting called back in for casting. So some of them had been working on the material and kind of in limbo for like, a year and a half.
Wow.
Like that's torture. That's absolute torture. Well, thank you, Veronica. Thank you so much for taking time out. Do you have a show tonight?
We do have a show tonight.
That's exciting. Have so much fun. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. And I hope you get some time to enjoy Annapolis. And we're so excited to have you guys here at the Wilson Center. everybody watching, they're going to be at the Wilson Center on November 4th and 5th for 3 shows. It's 7:30 p.m. on the 4th and 2 shows at 2 p.m. and 7:30 on the 5th at the Wilson Center in Wilmington, North Carolina. You are such a delight. Congratulations on your success. And tickets are still available. So please, come visit us, wilsoncentertickets.com, or call our box office. It's open between 2 and 6, Monday through Friday. Veronica, have an awesome day. Thanks again. And we look forward to seeing your performance in Anastasia.
Thank you so much. I'll see you guys when I'm there.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.